What's up, Undisputed listeners? It's your boy, Sharpe. I wanted to tell you about my new podcast, Club Shay, where we always do something before two something. Each week, I sit down with a guest for a drink and conversation, and as host and proprietor of Club Shay, I've welcomed in esteemed guests such as Snoop Dogg, Floyd Money Mayweather, LeVar Ball, Isaiah Thomas, just to mention a few. Whether I'm talking to an athlete, a musician, an actor, or a lifelong friend, Club Shay is a place where people share inspiring and motivational stories about their journeys to prominence. The new episode drops every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Club Shay now and make sure you never miss a new episode. Now back to Undisputed.
Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. We've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe. Guys, it's Friday. Good morning. How we doing?
I'm not doing too well, Jenny.
Yeah,
you know I'm not doing well.
I'm worried about you.
I'm not. Don't start gloating, Skip. Don't start.
Wait a second. You couldn't even come in the studio and face me today? You had to run home and hide behind a camera in some remote studio someplace? I don't know where you are, but you should be right here. You've got to have the guts to face up to what your man did not do last night.
Skip Bayless, as bad as 2020 was for everyone else, 2021 has been great for you. You cannot get a better start to 2021 than what you've gotten thus far.
You know what? Skip is feeling pretty good these last couple of months. He's feeling himself, and I can already sense it on a Friday. But Shannon, you mentioned you're not feeling so hot today. We do have to talk about what some were calling a finals preview last night. It just didn't go Shannon's way. Despite no Kevin Durant, the Nets are feeling it just like Skip Bayless. Last night, they took down LeBron and the Lakers 109-98, who were without Anthony Davis and Dennis Schroeder. James Harden and Kyrie Irving led the Nets with a combined 44 points, and Harden dished out 11 assists. LeBron finished with a game-high 32 points in the loss. So, Shannon, I start with you. Are you surprised LeBron wasn't able to keep the Lakers in this game?
No, it's kind of hard to keep a team in the game, Skip, when you're minus 30 from the three-point line. And that's what we've seen over the last probably, say, 10 or so games, is that they're shooting so poorly behind the arc, and the other teams are shooting so well. When you allow a team to shoot 46% from the three-point line, and they shoot the volume in which they shot the ball, they made 18 threes. Skip, over the last 3 games, they've made 65 threes. It's going to be hard for someone to overcome that when you only make 6 or 7 threes. And remember, before garbage time, Skip, they had only made 6 threes. So they get 2 in garbage time, so I'm going to discount those. So when the game really mattered, they had only made 6. And the Nets couldn't miss, Skip. Joe Harris, what did he go? He went 6 or 7 from 3. TLC went 5 of 8 from 3. And Landry Shamet went 2 of 3 from 3. Skip, it's hard to overcome that. LeBron shot 60% from the floor. He gave you 32, 8, and 7. But when you don't have another guy that can generate offense, you don't have Schroeder that can initiate offense, you don't have another guy that can go get a shot like AD can. So, no, I am not surprised. But what I am surprised by, the Nets and how the others, the role players, the guys, not the leading actors. Am I surprised by what Kyrie did? No, I thought he had a relatively quiet night, although he was sensational in spurts. James Harden, am I surprised by what he did? No, I know what he... But when you get Joe Harris doing what he's doing, you get a TLC, can't miss. You get a Landry Shamet coming in the little minutes that he has, he goes 2 or 3 from 3, and he can't miss. Skip, it's going to be hard to overcome that. They started with a small lineup, they forced Frank Vogel to go second half to start Keith Morris instead of Mark Gasol. But I'm not surprised, Skip. LeBron James had it going from everywhere except the 3. Skip, he was driving the ball. The step back was flawless last night. So I'm not surprised. LeBron James, he was only a -1, Skip, when he was in the game, and then he was they're -15 when he's out of the game. So what showed me last night, it kind of reminded me of last year in Cleveland. That's what it kind of looked like out there at times, because guys just couldn't get their shots going, and KCP is struggling from the 3. Last 13 games, Skip, he's 23%. He needs to be better because he's the dead-eye shooter. He's the guy that's going to get the majority of the shots when they double down on LeBron and he swings the ball or kicks it to him. Remember, first play last night, the hammer pass down the baseline, and he has a wide open three and he misses it.
Okay, Mr. Sharpe.
Yes.
All year, I've had to sit here all basketball season and hear you tell me how the number one defensive efficiency team is your Los Angeles Lakers, led by LeBron James.
Yes.
All season long, I've had to sit in this seat across from you hearing that the Brooklyn Nets are abysmal on defense. They are a disaster on defense, says Shannon Sharpe.
Yes.
And then I sat for 4 quarters last night and watched the Brooklyn Nets actually play, dare I say, defense. It was pretty good. They held your Lakers to 98 total points. Your Lakers couldn't break 100 against those disastrous defensively Brooklyn Nets. And
Skip, the Lakers
meanwhile,
shot.
yeah, go ahead.
Skip, the Lakers shot 48% from the field. It was just the discrepancy between the three ball. It's so discouraging. They got the game within 8, Skip, and the guy shoots the air ball. Nobody grabs the rebound for the Lakers. Somebody from the Nets grabs the ball, kicks it out. He makes a 3. Now it's back up to 11, and they don't look back from that point on. That was the difference in the ball game, Skip. I really thought the 3 ball that the Nets made, Skip, they was late in the a lot of those were late in the shot clock. Joe Harris coming out off the inbounds. Joe Harris, shot clock going down, he kisses it in off the glass. When they're making shots like that, Skip, you just throw your hand up and say, Coach, we getting ready for Miami on Saturday night.
Okay, but if you're the number one defensive team in all of basketball, can't you get more hands in faces of three-point shooters? You know what they are coming in because they had a chance last night. If they'd gone 20-plus threes, they got to 18, they would have become the first team in NBA history to go 3 straight games making 20-plus three-point shots. They came close. They were 2 of 8 in the fourth quarter. If they'd made just a couple of more, they would have broken or set the record. So why couldn't the number one defensive team get hands up and make it a little harder for them to make threes?
They got lazy, Skip. What happens is that when you have James Harden and Kyrie that can break you down off the dribble, which they were doing last night, so now you come to help. When you come to help, you got to help off Joe Harris. You got to help off TLC. You got to help off somebody, Skip, because you have to realize everybody that's in the game can make the 3. Because when they start Jeff Green instead of DeAndre Jordan, now everybody is a viable option at the 3-point line. So you got to bring help from somewhere. So now you come help. He drives and dish. He drives and kick, and guys are getting wide open looks. Yes, there were sometimes, guys trying to get, LeBron got caught with his hand in the cookie jar in the corner with TLC. Horton Tucker, he got caught at the top of the key, leaving his guy trying to sneak in. And when you do things like that, they make you pay. Now, sometimes you can get away with it, Skip, and the guy misses. But last night and over the last 3 games, the Nets have been dead on from the 3-point line. And so you can't afford to make those mistakes when you play in that team. But like we said, Skip, good defense, great defense. Sometimes you can play great defense, but sometimes guys give you better offense. We've seen guys make tough shots, and it's like there's nothing you can do about that. The guy just made a better shot than what you were playing defense. Okay, now to your man, LeBron James. As we stated a couple of days ago here on Undisputed, this was a golden opportunity for him to run through. Now we're hearing that AD's going to be out for maybe 4 weeks. So it's more games. We had a 9-game stretch up to the All-Star break, but we should probably throw in another couple of games after that, and they're unsure about it. So they're just sort of guessing at, let's say, 4-ish weeks, okay? But it's a stretch of games in which LeBron, who is already the MVP frontrunner, can close the case. If he keeps coming up bigger and bigger and bigger without AD at his side, then obviously he's going to run away with MVP. So at Minnesota, he did what he had to do. They did finally pull away and win that game. Then here comes the Nets, but there's no KD. I believe KD is the best player on the planet. I believe that KD is better than AD. So I thought KD was a bigger loss to the Nets than AD was to LeBron. That's just my estimation of how this game shaped up. So I fully expected LeBron to dominate this game,
to take it over and help his Lakers pull away from Nets featuring only Kyrie and Harden. And that did not happen.
Only Kyrie and Harden.
Okay, well, again, what happened at the start of the game? As you point out, the Nets came out really small, shockingly small, almost as small as the Rockets were with Harden in their small ball lineup a year ago. I tried to add up the inches. They were actually only 2 inches taller of the 5 guys who started the game for the Nets last night than the Rockets were with James starting last year, small ball. Just 2 inches separated them because they went ahead and went with Bruce Brown, who's 6'4". Joe Harris is 6'6", but plays like he's about 6'2". Jeff Green is still playing. He's on his 10th NBA team. He's 6'8", and he was their postman last night. He was their center. Kyrie is all of 6'2", and James is, of course, 6'5". So that's the lineup they started.
Right.
I immediately tweeted that, King, you're on. It should be a super highway to the basket for you because you are being guarded in the first quarter right out of the box by the immortal Joe Harris. I don't think he's ever been confused with a first-team all-defensive player. His feet don't move quite as quickly as most NBA players' feet move. He can really shoot it. As you said, he was 6 of 7 from 3. But I thought maybe he would burn himself out on defense just trying to stay with LeBron. But apparently he didn't drain himself on defense. I'm not even sure he plays much defense, but that's beside the point. LeBron had what should have been a championship parade route to the basket in the first quarter. I thought he would dominate. I tweeted, LeBron, you're on, play some LBJ bully ball. That's what I thought would happen because LeBron is bigger than anybody the Nets started last night. Obviously, DeAndre Jordan didn't come into the game until 2 minutes were left in the first quarter. So, Shannon, what happened in the first quarter? The Nets won 31-24. Did LeBron drive it? Well, he did a couple of times, but did he get to the free throw line? Well, he shot one technical, but then he made the other one on an and one, so he ended up going 1 of 2 from the free throw line in the first quarter when I thought he'd shoot 10 free throws in the first quarter. I thought he would score, 15 points in the first quarter and set the tone, and instead he scored 7 points in the first quarter, and the Nets were already pulling away.
Well, he scored 7 in the first quarter, but Skip, if you remember, Skip, he missed 2 easy bunnies. He missed a putback right at the rim, and he missed he beat somebody off the dribble, and he pushed it, and it hit the back iron. So he really could have had 11, 12 points right there. And plus, as you mentioned, he missed the free throw. But I thought he did a great job of driving the basketball. I thought he did a great job of shooting. Everything was working for him last night, Skip, except the 3-ball. You saw later in the ball in the second. And remember, Skip, we talked about this all the time. When LeBron James gets it going, it seems that he pulls back and says, okay, now I'm in my rhythm. Let me try to get other guys going. And I wish he wouldn't do that. Sometimes it just calls for, you know what? Get the hell out of my way. All I need you guys to do is to take the ball out of bounds and set picks. I'm not passing you the ball tonight.
Totally agree. You mentioned the 3-ball. Again, we're talking about LeBron as the front runner for MVP. So I'm not nitpicking here. I'm just fact-checking. So here's what I see. LeBron goes 1 of 5 from 3 last night. So in 9 games in February, so far in the month of February, he's 15 of 56 from the three-point line. That's 27%.
Yeah.
He has now plummeted to 37% for the year from the three-point line, and we have a bet on 38 or better, right?
Yeah, so, We'll be at 38. We'll be about 38.6, 38.3 by Saturday night after we do this job on Miami.
Oh, really? So what's he going to go, like 6 of 8 or so, something like that?
I'm thinking, Skip, I'm thinking about 7. I'm thinking like 7 or 10.
Really? Would you like to bet 7 cases on 7 of 10? I will if you like it.
You already, look. Skip, I see what you're trying to do. You're in an advantageous situation, like you said. You're playing with Shannon's due already. You got 7 cases of my due, so you just want me to just willy-nilly try to get it all back at once. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to be very methodical in how I get my due back. But, Skip, back to the game. I think you will agree. When you go minus 30 from the three-point line. You allow someone to make 18. They shoot 46%. It wasn't like they was 18 or 60. They was 18 of what? I think 46. When you go minus 30.
39. 18 or 39. That's
18 or 39.
46%. Yep.
46. So when you go minus 30 from the three-point line, Skip, I don't know how you overcome that.
Okay. You overcome it when the best player on the planet, according to you, makes, I don't know, 4 or 5 threes of his own, and he goes 1 of 5.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. He was 1 of 6. But that's my thing, Skip. Yes, if he, even if he goes, for, say, so now they're 10 of what? 10 of, so they're 10. So he makes 3 threes. They're 11 of 30. That's still, Skip. You still minus 21.
Okay,
you're
right.
Right. You can't have that big a discrepancy.
I actually gave him one because he's actually 1 of 6 from 3. Yeah. And by the way, speaking of three-point shooting, do you realize that he's developed this disturbing habit of shooting air balls in games? I'm seeing more and more air balls. It seems like on a nightly basis he shoots an air ball because he shot one in the fourth quarter after he finally made his first 3 on a wide-open corner 3. He caps it off by trying to step back on Jeff Green and just completely misses everything. So if we could just remind everybody of what his three-point shooting looked like last night, could we see the totality of his three-point shooting, please?
Yeah, he tried to walk into one right there.
Ooh, close.
Skip, that was halfway down. Skip, that was halfway down.
That was LeBrick. And here we go, step back on Joe Harris, not even close. And then here we go. It's just too far out. Just couldn't get it there. Yeah. Then this is his turnover, but it comes back. Jeff Green turns it right back over, and Gasol kicks it to LeBron. Wide open, and he made it. Way to go, LeBron. Love that. But then he says, I got a hot hand. I think he missed that by a foot left.
Yeah.
Shannon, what are you doing? So now we're seeing more and more air balls. We're seeing he's airballed a free throw lately, and then he had 2 air balls at Minnesota, and then that one last night. By the way, could we just see all those air balls just to remind everybody?
No,
I don't know. Do we have them?
Can we keep it on the game?
We don't have
Can we keep it on the game?
Can we keep it on? Oh, that was just back on February 8th.
Can we keep it on the game last night?
2 feet short, and then this opened the game at Minnesota. LeBron. Nothing but air. And then LeBron, logo 3 at Minnesota on Monday night, nothing but net, except it didn't go through the basket first. And then that one last night capped it off wide left by about a foot. So, Shannon, we always called Michael Jordan his airness, and I'm starting to call LeBron his airballness, right? Because he's just missing threes left and right. It's become routine that we can't go a game with LeBron without 1 air ball. I don't get it. If he's the best player on the planet, he at least needs to hit the rim, right?
Can we keep the focus on last night's game?
Okay, I do. And yet, it was a vintage LeBron game last night because he did make 3 or 4 fancy-dancy fallaways. You know, they're cool to watch. He made the one on Jeff Green from the far corner, and I don't even know, he had no angle, and he got it up over the backboard and dropped it right down the chimney it was the shot of the game. He had a big thunder dunk on top of that. So I'm sure most LeBron fans walked away from this game saying, oh, that was an MVP game because, as you said, he put up his 32 points and you know, for what it's worth, 8 rebounds and 8 assists, not bad. But if you really look deeper into the numbers, he was only 3 of 6 from the free throw line. Only 3 of 6? You should have shot 12, 14, 15 free throws.
Well, Skip, I mean, he did. He drove the ball, and sometimes I think he spends a lot of time arguing with calls with the officials. Is that when he doesn't get the call, and I think it gets frustrating because he and KCP, you see the guys do a lot of arguing with calls, and we see that happening more and more. Now, I do think there was a block last night. I don't think that was a foul that Trez had on DeAndre Jordan. Skip, he just knocked the ball out of his hands from behind, and they called a foul. So I get the frustration.
It was a big swipe, though. I don't know. I think he got some body or there was some skin on skin.
But, Skip, my thing was, I'm like, Frank, you're down 24. What the hell are you saving that challenge for?
Okay.
It's not like it's going to come into effect at some point in time in the ball game. Go ahead and use it. I mean, Skip, if I'm down by 20 points and the call looks close, I'm going to call it. I'm going to go ahead and use my challenge because what am I saving it for?
Okay.
But I just say, look, give the Nets credit, Skip. I don't want to just talk about what the Lakers didn't do. I think we need to give some credit to the Nets for what they did do. They had tremendous ball movement. I saw a couple of threes. They passed the ball like 5 or 6 times. It was like somebody's about to shoot it. No, I think he has a better shot. He's about to shoot it. No, he has an even better shot than what I was about to take. And so they did a great job of ball movement. James Harden and Kyrie did a great job. Like I said, it wasn't James Harden and Kyrie that really did the damage. It was the role guys. It was the guys that have small parts in the movie that really took the movie over.
Okay, so just to finish this off, LeBron finally made a 3, which cut the lead to 20 points in the fourth quarter. So that 1 3 that he did make of the 6 attempts had no impact on the game.
Right, exactly.
And again, 3 of 6 free throws, so now he's fallen off to 70% free throw shooting for the year. And just for the record, just in the MVP context, LeBron now ranks among three-point shooters for the year. He's, as we said, fallen to 37%. He's 104th in the NBA in three-point shooting. In free throw shooting, he's fallen to 101st in the league. So in three-point shooting and free throw shooting, LeBron James, the MVP frontrunner, does not rank in the top 100 in the NBA in either category, just for the record. And he is tied for second in turnovers now, but he's only 3 short of Luka's league-leading turnovers. So he's high in turnovers, poor three-point shooting, poor free throw shooting, but he's still the front runner for MVP because he scored 32 last night against the Nets.
But here's the thing, though, Skip. That's like saying, well, Tom Brady is not great at scrambling. He's not great at throwing the ball out of the pocket. So therefore, we're going to disqualify all the other great attributes that he possessed. You wouldn't do that. So, no, I don't think you should do that with LeBron. Yes, that is a small part. Free throw shooting, yes. LeBron should be better at shooting free throws because, like I said, they're free. There's no one challenging the shot. I get that. Yes, I would like to see him shoot a higher percentage from the three-point line. But when you look at the totality, and this is what people do, they look at what he's doing and the weight, the onus that he's actually carrying. I think that's what gives it the credence, Skip, that he is the MVP frontrunner. But, Skip, it's not like he's 35 yards ahead of everybody else. This might be the closest race in NBA history because there's so many. I don't think there's going to be a team that runs away with it. It's not going to be like Steph with 73-9, or they go 67-15, or, somebody has a Giannis where he finishes number 1 in PR and they win 60-plus games. I don't believe you're going to see a scenario like that. I believe it's going to be very, very congested, and somebody's going to win an MVP in the closest race probably of the top 3, top 4 in NBA history.
Okay, bottom line, final question off last night's game. Was that a finals preview, Shannon Sharpe?
Skip, I'm concerned now because, like you said, they said, okay, AD is going to be evaluated in 2 to 3 weeks. Now they pushed it back. Now you've got Schroeder, and now Schroeder's in protocol.
Yep.
So how long is Schroeder going to be gone? 3, 4 games? So now your second and third best players, he's going to have to go it alone for, at least 1 week without Schroeder and possibly another 3 to 4 weeks, a month without AD. So it's gonna be hard. Skip, if he can keep this team in the top 2, top 3 over the next month, yes, Skip, I believe he's gonna be the MVP. Because considering what he's gonna be up against in the West, yeah. But I don't know, Skip. I really don't, because AD, and if he comes back, Skip, you know what happens when you start getting nicked during the season, and these games are coming up every other day. How do you ever get healthy? And how do you stay healthy? Because he has a flare-up in the playoffs. He's shut down for the rest of the playoffs.
Bottom line to this conversation, Shannon Sharpe has lost confidence in his Lakers making it back to the finals.
Yeah, Skip, without AD and absolutely. I said that at the time, Skip.
Okay.
I said at the time, if AD is not healthy, they're not going to the NBA Finals.
I restate my case. The team in the Staples basement, known as the Clippers, will make it out of the West to the finals and play the Brooklyn Nets. Nothing but
Skip.
Nets.
Hold on, Skip. You better worry about your guys. Paul George hadn't played in a minute. Kawhi has a leg contusion. Now, you know these injuries could possibly reoccur.
minor and minor. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, it's a little worrisome with AD, considering now they're saying 4 weeks. Is that actually 5? Is that actually 6? He's had injuries, guys.
Exactly.
It's something to think about.
No mercy.
Hey, Undisputed listeners, I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com. Reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports, plus a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, are just one click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. Download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com.
No mercy.
Hey, Undisputed listeners, it's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we can all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you.
No mercy.
Carson Wentz is being dealt to the Colts, where he will be reunited with Frank Reich, who was his offensive coordinator in Philly for 2 seasons. The Eagles will receive a third-round pick in this year's draft and a conditional second-round pick next year. The conditional pick could be a first if Wentz plays 75% of the Colts' offensive snaps. But post-trade, however, Jake Glazer reported that other teams, including the Bears, never made offers for Wentz to the Eagles. So, Shannon, did the Colts give up more than they really had to here?
No, because you don't know that. See, Jay has the luxury of calling around teams. If the Eagles didn't have that luxury, and if they call around the team, it's not going to tell them, we offered a first and a third, or we offered this. They're not going to tell you. Skip, it's kind of like going to an auction. Well, if I'm at the auction right there with the person, I see who's bidding. I'm looking at him, I'm sizing him up. I've seen him at this auction before. He likes these type of cars. I might be in for the running. I might have to up this thing to go a little further than I wanted to, as opposed to someone being online that you can't see, and he has someone bidding for him. So that's what the Eagles were up against. They were bidding against, they didn't know am I bidding against somebody I know or someone I don't know. But if you believe you've got your guy, Skip, as you said yesterday, no price is too much. The question is, how much damage has been done to Carson Wentz mentally, physically, emotionally, psychologically? Because I told Mike, Skip, remember last week, Mike Vick and I had this conversation. I said, Mike, he's gone. I said, he ain't coming back. I said, I know you want him to be back, but he gone.
Yep.
I said, and plus the thing is, when you bench a guy like that, Skip, that's not a 5th-round draft pick. That's not a guy that was somewhat of a starter and, fell out of the rotation. The guy you traded, you moved heaven and earth to move up in the draft to select him. You paid him a king's ransom, and you benched him. You don't come back from that. That's not, if it's his rookie season, you could overcome that. You can't do that to a guy in his 4th or 5th year and think he's going to bounce back from that. So the question is, can they repair him mentally, physically, emotionally, and psychologically? Skip, he was on pace to get sacked 67 times, which have been the 4th most in NFL history. He missed the last 4 games. So we said he turned the ball over more than any other quarterback, and he missed 4 games. He threw more interceptions, and he missed 4 games. He also led the league in getting sacked, and he missed 4 games. So what guy are they getting? Frank Reich believes he can repair Carson Wentz, because the thing when Carson Wentz was at his absolute best, Skip, what did he have? An outstanding offensive line, a very good running game. He had the Winnebago, LeGarrette Blount, and Jay Ajayi. They can run the football. The receivers can make plays. That offensive line is outstanding in Indy. He had that when he was on a cruise. What was he, 11-2, Skip? I think when he tore his knee out here at LA. So I believe they have that. The only question I have, Skip, have the Eagles and what happened to him the last 8 weeks. Well, no, take that back, Skip. Let me take it back. Did what happened to him the moment they turned that card in and said, with the second-round draft pick, we select Jalen Hurts, have too much damage been done to him mentally for him to overcome that? I believe he landed in the perfect spot. He landed in a spot where a guy believes in him. Skip, and sometimes that's what you need. You need a guy that believes in you. The Eagles no longer believed in Carson Wentz. He no longer believed in them. The marriage had to end. So the question is, not if he, Skip, can he, because we know, like you said, he's 6'5", 245 pounds. The guy can throw. But now it's all about what's between the ears. Can they repair that? If they can repair that, they got themselves a good quarterback, and the price they gave up wasn't too steep.
Okay, I will give you this much. If any man on this planet can save and salvage Carson Wentz, it's Frank Reich.
Yes.
Who obviously was his coordinator through that one blip of a great run that Carson Wentz had in 2017 before he tore up his knee. And he was, if not the MVP frontrunner, he was right in the thick of that race. I'm going to give you that. But that's all I'm going to give you, because the truth was, if Indy had played its cards a little more shrewdly, I think they could have gotten Carson Wentz for even more of a song. I think they could have just said, we'll give you this year's 2 and be done with it, and they would have gotten him for that. But they didn't really do enough due diligence or be able to read the tea leaves quite well enough to know what R.J. Glazer knew about Chicago and what the reporters in New England reported yesterday, which was the Patriots really had no interest in Carson Wentz. So let's step back for a moment for our viewers' sake and put this all in perspective. All you really need to know about Carson Wentz is he was the number 2 overall pick in the draft. He's still under 30 years of age. He's still in his late 20s. And Philly was so desperate to get rid of him that they were willing to eat the all-time record amount of dead cap money, which is $33.8 million. That's their fault for paying him all that money to begin with, giving him a second contract. But they just said, we got to get out from under this. He's a disaster. He's unfixable. We have to do this now, not wait. We have to do it right now. And all you need to know about Carson Wentz is the Colts were bidding against themselves. There was no other market in the entire National Football League for a quarterback who had a little bit of an MVP run in 2017, who's still under 30 years of age, and was once upon a time the number 2 overall pick. Nobody wanted him because they all believe he is damaged beyond repair.
Right.
Some of them might have thought that he wasn't that great to begin with. That was my stance with you on this show from day one. I did not watch him at North Dakota State enough. I saw the highlights, so I wasn't sure coming out of the draft. But after I saw him, especially against my team, my Dallas Cowboys in 2016 versus Dak Prescott, I thought right away, he's got too much deer in headlights in him. I don't see consistent accuracy from him. I don't see consistent feel for playing the hardest position to play in sports. I don't see the touch, the poise, just the ability to make the play when it needs to be made. And then as it developed, he did not demonstrate the leadership intangibles that you need to play that position and be the face of a franchise and the voice in a locker room. So the player I just described was the anti-Tom Brady. And I am sorry to be the bearer of bad tidings for Colts fans, but he will ultimately disappoint you in Indianapolis, because obviously we're not talking about Peyton Manning here. I don't think we're even talking about Andrew Luck. And I had some concerns, some misgivings about
No. He's
Andrew
not as
Luck.
good as Andrew Luck. No, he wasn't as good as Andrew Luck.
Okay,
No, hell no.
what I'm saying is don't start putting him even on the Luck pedestal yet, because he's not going to be Andrew Luck either. So the problem is...
Could he be Phillip Rivers?
Phillip Rivers was pretty good last year.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
they got to the playoffs, right? And
but that's what
they played Buffalo pretty well in that first playoff game, right?
But that's my thing, Skip. Do you believe he can beat Phillip Rivers? Phillip Rivers couldn't throw the ball over 30 yards. So
I don't.
He can't. You don't believe he can beat Phillip Rivers?
I don't. But again, Phillip Rivers is about as crafty, as shrewd an operator as who ever played the position.
Right.
He did more with less arm than anybody who ever played the position because he knows how to play. He could just see it and feel it and make the play at the time. And again, Phillip Rivers always came up a little bit short. And we talked about his legacy was he never quite got you there.
Right.
But he did a lot of great things. And so, no, I do not think Carson Wentz, if we just do prototype, if we put him in the vacuum, he's got 5 times the arm that Phillip ever had in his life. And he's a big, strapping young man, still a young man, who will, if it calls for it, he will try to run through a brick wall for your football team. And what he did down the stretch, again, in a terrible division a year ago, he helped lift up a team that was playing with a lot of practice squad players into the playoffs.
Yeah.
But the problem was he lasted 2 series in his first ever playoff game and went, 1 of 3 for 4 yards. That's his playoff legacy in total. So you don't even know how he's going to play in a playoff game. I know how Phillip Rivers will play in a playoff game. He'll play pretty well. He came up short a few times, but he also won some big playoff games.
But the thing is, Skip, is that you say that he didn't play well, but you look at what he had. You give him Dak Prescott's offensive line and those skill positions.
Yep.
Do we believe we have this conversation about Carson Wentz? The question, for me, the thing is, I believe he can be. People don't realize Phillip Rivers had a very good career. Phillip Rivers somehow ended up throwing for more passing yards, more passing touchdowns than Dan Marino. And Dan Marino is a top 100 player in NFL history.
Yep.
And somehow Phillip Rivers, with his ability, Skip, Phillip Rivers could not run me or you currently. And I hadn't run in a decade.
I got it.
And you don't do any sprints. And Phillip Rivers could not run either one of us. But he found a way to get it done with the ability that he has. Carson Wentz has more ability. He's more mobile. He's more athletic. He has a bigger arm. The question is, the one thing that we never questioned about Phillip Rivers was his mentality, was his mindset. Was he tough physically? Was he tough mentally or emotionally? We know he was rock solid in those areas. Those are the questions. I think it, Skip, is more so mentally and psychologically with Carson Wentz than it is physically, because we knew he took a beating. He got sacked 50 times. He was on pace to get sacked 67. So you can recover from that because he didn't take any more beatings after December. And so now he's in a new place, rejuvenated. But the question's going to be, Skip, I don't want to hear nothing about no OTAs or he looks good at OTAs in minicamp.
Yeah.
I'm going to need to see Carson Wentz in actual game, live fire, to have an honest assessment of whether or not he's moved past what transpired his last year in Philly.
I got it. By the way, quick aside, just for the record, I do, and you know this for a fact, I run one long sprint every day of my life, and it's all the way from my dressing room up to the studio.
Yeah, exactly.
A, so I'm not late, and B, to get my adrenaline up so I can just demolish you. But I do it every day, just for the record.
You do? Yeah, and you do it to beat me because you see me as soon as you see me.
I do. I run so that I can get mic'd up before you do, and it's like our commercial of 2 years ago, welcome, Shannon. I'm here first. I'm always here first, right?
He does. He actually does that. I think he's standing by his dressing room door waiting to hear if my door opens. And the next thing I know, I hear pop, 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 pop.
Yep.
Yeah, I can confirm that there is sprinting going on. I've gotten in the way before. It hasn't ended well. Oh, just so now everyone knows, there's always a competition here who's racing up to get the show started. I love it from both of you guys. We got to talk a little bit more about what happened last night with the Lakers and Nets, because LeBron, here's what happened. He stepped up to shoot a technical free throw for the Lakers in the first quarter, but he did miss. And seconds after, Kyrie Irving, who was visibly amused by the miss, could be overheard on the TV broadcast saying, quote, "That's your best free throw shooter?" Oh, yeah, you could hear that. Shannon, what do you make of Kyrie saying this?
Skip, I loved it. It's trash talking. And the thing about not having fans in the stands, Skip, is that you can hear the mics pick up everything.
Yep.
Skip, I once told Skip, it was third down, and the guy was in the game, and he ended up running, and he ran out of bounds. I was like, why the hell are you in the game? You know damn well they weren't going to throw you that ball on third down. You out here just taking up space. You should have stayed on the sideline. But that's a part of the game, Skip. Look, we know there's really no love lost between Kyrie and LeBron, and we don't need to rehash what transpired. Kyrie hit a big shot. LeBron went back for 3 years. It was, Kyrie probably won't admit this, but I don't know. It was probably the best 3 years of Kyrie's life because Kyrie got on the map. I mean, we knew who he was, but nobody was talking about Kyrie in the terms that when LeBron came back, people got a chance to see him on a nightly basis.
Yep.
He's in the NBA Finals 3 times. He won one, hit the big shot, the second biggest shot in NBA Finals history. So, but there's no love loss. I don't think there's no love loss on Kyrie's side. LeBron's like, I just tried to do all I could. I tried to help the kid. If there's anything I could do, any wisdom, knowledge I could partake on him, I tried to do that. But Kyrie, for whatever reason, felt that he was on LeBron's level.
Yep.
And the Cavaliers did not give him the privileges that they afforded LeBron, the access to go and come, his team, the access that Kyrie sought. And so I guess Kyrie held that against LeBron as opposed to holding against the Cavaliers and Dan Gilbert. But for whatever reason, hey, it went sour. Kyrie went about his way. It's worked out well for everybody. Kyrie's happy. He had to stop off in Boston for 2 years, Skip. Now he's in Brooklyn with KD and James Harden. But I loved it. I don't have a problem with it. And you're right, because if you look at who's on the court at the time, Montrezl Harrell is a 74% free throw shooter. THT is an 84, but he only shoots one a game.
Yep.
Caruso is 83. He shoots half of one a game.
Yep.
And Kuz is worse than LeBron at shooting free throws. So, yeah, probably LeBron was the best one on the court to shoot the ball at the time, although it didn't go in. Hey, but I don't have a problem with it, Skip. I don't have a problem with it.
You know what? I actually, honestly, felt sorry for LeBron because that was blatant disrespect in his house. And it was a Kyrie who was always jealous of LeBron, always resented LeBron's stature when they played together, always resented the way LeBron handled himself. LeBron has some diva in him. Obviously, Kyrie's got a lot of something in him. I don't know if you call it diva, but he can be moody and difficult.
Yes.
And they clashed. Their personalities constantly rubbed each other the wrong way until finally Kyrie said, I'm out of here. And what I saw last night was a Kyrie who was dealing from a position of strength because he believes he's now sitting in what we call the proverbial catbird seat. He's like, I talked KD and coming with me to Brooklyn, and now we got James. So I got KD and James. You got AD, but obviously last night neither had AD or KD. But it's Kyrie saying, I got you. And he stated the obvious to me, but man, it was a shot because it was audible enough that I'm assuming a number of players on both sides could hear what he said.
Yeah, it's quiet. There's no fans in the stands.
That's
so
what I'm
you hear
saying.
everything.
Yeah, it reverberated on the floor. So the point is, I've always, my pet peeve about LeBron, and he's obviously an all-time great player. I've never understood why he couldn't figure out how to make more than, 70% of his free throws, 72 or 73 for his career. But he's better than that. He needs to be better than that. It's almost like he's got a demon in his head about free throw shooting. He actually, his technique looks better this year than it's ever looked because he's tried all these bizarre step back before he shoots it, all these different routines. So he looks like he's got it under control, but he's still at 70%. And he did step right up, and you make a fair case because their best free throw shooters were not on the floor at that point. Although I could have made a case because Frank Vogel raves about Caruso. Again, for those who watch the Laker telecast out on Sports Spectrum here in Southern California, you hear on a nightly basis, he is Caruso. He is the show. Yes. And now Frank Vogel is calling him Mariano Rivera, as in the greatest relief pitcher in the history of baseball.
Closer.
And he's their closer because he closes obviously last night wasn't close, but down the stretch, he can play very little in the first 3 quarters, but down the stretch of the fourth quarter, he is going to be on the floor because he's smart with the basketball and he plays hellacious, crazy, kamikaze defense. He's all over the floor taking charges, getting his hands on balls, disrupting. So he is, as you just pointed out, he's an 83%er, so you could make a case he should have stepped to the line. But LeBron's like, well, I'm the elder statesman here, and because all of our best free throw shooters are currently on the bench, I'm going to take this free throw. And again, LeBron ranks 11th in free throw percentage on his own team. That's how bad his free throw is right now. So the only two worst are Kuzma, who's having his worst year of his career at 62%, and the immortal Alfonso McKinney, who he got to play some last night. He is a grand total of 2 of 4 from the free throw line. He's 50%, so he and Kuz are worse than LeBron. But again, big picture, LeBron ranks 101st in the NBA in free throw percentage, and Kyrie just laid it on him. That's your best free throw shooter? Well, obviously he's not, and it was a shot, and I was surprised LeBron didn't fire back at him, but he did not. And I think LeBron knew he was dealing from a real position of weakness last night because the Nets came in hot-handed, at least from the three-point line, and he didn't have Schroeder or AD.
Well, I think that's the thing that I think separates LeBron from a lot of guys is that LeBron doesn't respond to all the criticism. Now, he will lash out. Now, Skip, you remember when Charles Barkley said something, he went nuclear. He went scorched earth. So he will respond, but LeBron has to really feel that you went out of your way to take a shot at him in order for him to respond to you. Now, he might, Skip, beat around the bush and send out these little things, and you're like, well, what did LeBron mean? Why can't LeBron just go ahead and say he's talking about this guy?
Right.
He'll say, Skip, he'll give you this little warnings that
it's called passive-aggressive on social media.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yes. So, but I'm not surprised that he didn't respond in that moment to Kyrie. I'm not surprised whatsoever.
It's funny, though, Shannon, because if a fan ever heckles him, if an executive from a team he used to play for, the Cleveland Cavaliers, as we recall about, 3 weeks ago? The right-hand man of Dan Gilbert in Cleveland in an arena with very few fans in it, stood up and applauded when LeBron missed the last shot of the third quarter. And you know what happened in the fourth quarter? He took it very personally, probably because he's allied with Dan Gilbert, who has, LeBron should have no use for Dan Gilbert, obviously. And he goes off and scores 21 in the fourth. And if there have been classic cases on the road where at Toronto, at Atlanta, LeBron's gotten heckled by just some nobody fan in the stands, and he just goes ballistic. But he will not respond that way to player trash talk. It doesn't seem
because Skip, if you remember, Skip, just the game after Cleveland, the fan in the stand in Atlanta. But LeBron's like, look, he said what he said, I said what I said. It was two grown men going back and forth. We left it alone. But see, in that situation, LeBron James is very calculated. He says, I'm not going to give them the satisfaction of thinking they got to me by even responding to this bull jive. I know who I am. I'm the king. I'm where they want to be. I'm what they hope to accomplish. So I am the most decorated player that's currently playing in the NBA. And if I respond, why should I respond? Nobody can touch my resume. Nobody currently playing, Skip, can touch his resume. So if he responds, it's like, oh, they got it, man. He made LeBron respond to something. Like maybe behind closed doors, he might go vent to Savannah. He might vent to Mav or Rich.
Yes.
Oh, you're right, Mav or Rich or Randy.
Yep.
But to give a said player the satisfaction of knowing you said something that got under my skin, or you said something that required me to respond to it, nah, I'm not going to even give you that satisfaction, bro. So, do you?
Yeah, he ignored Kyrie like it's beneath his dignity to even acknowledge that shot.
Right.
So, and by the way, quick point of order on the fan in Atlanta. I think you enlightened me. They had some business dealing or something. There was something personal going on there. We'll keep that between me and you. Keep that between. Okay, I won't go into the gory details of that, but I'm going to be very interested to see if LeBron even passive-aggressively via social media takes any little tiny shot back, even between-the-line shot back at Kyrie, now that he's had a chance to sleep on it.
But, Skip, remember when Kyrie said, that when he looks down at the bench now, he sees a you-know-what that can make the same shots that he made.
How about
and
KD?
LeBron said, LeBron says, I did. And I think LeBron responded to it in a form of his own. Like, well, I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. Damn, you did play with me. And you did see
true.
me hit shots like that.
Well.
So he'll approach it in that form. But to man, Kai, I can't believe you said that, Kai. For real, Kai, to approach him in that manner, he's like, nah, I'm good. I'm good.
Well, this is the one reason I would love to see Lakers-Nets in the finals, because there is some serious bad blood here, and we'd get to see it maybe for 7 full games.
Yeah, because you got a situation where KD believes that, hold on, I beat LeBron twice in the finals, and y'all still said he was better than I was.
Yep.
Kyrie says, hold on, I was doing my thing, and y'all still don't want to give me no credit. Y'all talk about LeBron. So, yeah, I don't know. You'd have to go back, Skip, probably to the Celtics of the 80s, the Celtics-Lakers series, where you had this kind of bad blood.
I agree.
And it went back. The reason why it was so bad in the 80s, it had started in the 60s. So you had 20-year history. You only got like a 5-year history with this, but there is some blood where KD's like, hold on, I should be the man because I took down the man. Well, Kyrie said, well, hell, I played alongside the man, but I was just as good as the man.
That is correct. And remember, it was KD who said publicly that LeBron is propped up and protected by media fanboys. Remember that?
Yes.
Fanboys.
Yes.
Okay.
The ones that voted, the ones that voted for him the MVP.
Yes.
Them same fanboys that voted for him.
That is correct.
No mercy.
The NFC East could look a little different at quarterback next season. The Eagles have now shipped Carson Wentz off to the Colts, which we've discussed. The Cowboys have yet to sign Dak Prescott to a long-term deal. The division champ Washington only won 7 games and have Taylor Heineke as their starter, despite rumors that they might look at Cam Newton. And, of course, the Giants do appear to be committed to Daniel Jones. So, Shannon, right now, who is the best team in the NFC East?
Skip, you put my feet to the fire. I'm going to say Washington football team, but I don't believe they'll win the division. I believe the Giants will win the division because here's the thing. I like what I saw from Heineke, but the question is, Skip, can he do that over 16 games? We've seen guys have great one game. We saw Jalen Hurts play unbelievable in New Orleans, and he didn't replicate that at any other point in time in the 3 games that he played after he played New Orleans. So the question that I have, can he replicate that over a 16-game season, what we saw him do against Tampa? Because of all the quarterbacks, he might have played the best game of all the quarterbacks between Aaron Rodgers, Pat Mahomes, and Drew Brees. He might have had the best all-around game of all of them. So my question is, can he replicate that? Now, I'm not saying play that type of game. I'm talking about, can he be as good, close to what he was in that wild card game against Tampa? Can he be that for 16 games? If so, they might have something. But when you look at the Giants, Skip, I'm just disregarding the Eagles because, Skip, they talk about bringing in a quarterback for competition. When have you ever heard somebody bring in a quarterback you believe in, you bring in somebody to compete with him for the job? So that lets you know that's why you created a situation you didn't have to. But the Giants, they believe in Daniel Jones. The Giants have a very good defense. Now, they're going to have to get a little bit more out of Evan Ingram.
Yeah.
But they're also going to have to get more consistent play out of Daniel Jones. Skip, we've seen him in games. Unbelievable ability. He can run. He got crazy legs. Skip, remember, he was running so fast.
Yeah.
He's like a cartoon character, Skip. He was running faster than he was supposed to run, and he stumbled over his own feet.
Yep.
But big time arm, can make throws. He's just turnover prone. And that's one thing that'll cause you to lose a lot of ball games. So I believe that's something that he can clean up. They're going to work with that to clean that up. Cowboys, Skip, what do we do? Okay, they changed defense again. So now they're going from a 3-4 to a 43. Your offense, your quarterback, what are you going to do about that? Is Dak coming back, Skip? Who's going to be your quarterback? Do we even know? Or is Dak going to be under the franchise tag again and be unhappy because he says that for 3 whole years, you've told me I'm your guy, that you can win a Super Bowl with me. I'm a franchise guy. Yet, here we are 3 years later, and I still don't have a long-term deal. I'm still playing on a tag, which means I need to prove to you that I can do it.
Yep.
So I'm going to say, as we sit here right now, Skip, the best team is Washington. Who I think will win the division, I'm going Giants.
Okay. Just for perspective, I love and hate this question like no question we've ever done in the history of Undisputed. Because just 1 year ago today, you and I are going back and forth about, is it the Eagles or the Cowboys? Or the Cowboys or the Eagles? And all of a sudden, we have gone 180 degrees from fly, Eagles, fly to cry, Eagles, cry. Sigh, Eagles, sigh. Because they feel like the biggest mess in the entire league right now.
They do.
They're either old or not good enough at nearly every position. And I don't know what's going to happen at quarterback. To your point, I've seen the ESPN report about will they try to trade for Mariota, bring him in to challenge Jalen Hurts with the 6th pick overall. We're going to talk about this a little later in the show. Would they go ahead and take a quarterback if one fell to them at 6? I don't know. They don't seem to know. They don't seem to have any direction. So I rank them dead last in the least. Dead last in the least. That's hard to do, right? And to your point, it feels like the Washington football team is going to go forward with Taylor Heinicke as its starting quarterback.
Right.
The guy who against the Buccaneers in the first playoff game in Washington made me feel like I should try my first Heineken because he was throwing for 306 yards against the same Bucs defense that terrorized Drew Brees the next week, that shut down Aaron Rodgers in the fourth quarter at Lambeau in the NFC Championship game, and that kept Patrick Mahomes out of the end zone for an entire Super Bowl game. He didn't even score a single touchdown against the Bucs defense that could not stop Taylor Heinicke. So I've now seen him twice. He played, remember, in the fourth quarter against Carolina in a game they had to win at that moment, and he looked pretty good. He lit it up. I don't know what's going to happen to Alex Smith. God bless him. I'm going to knock on wood for him. I don't know. He's obviously still there. He couldn't make it through last year. Can he muster up a year next year? I have no idea, but it feels like because they re-signed Taylor Heinicke that maybe he's the guy. But they gave him Shannon, they gave him 2 years at a total of $4.8 million. His cash next year is $2.5 million. Your starting quarterback is going to make $2.5 million when Dak Prescott wants 40-some million. I mean, it's lunacy to me what is happening in this division. And then to Daniel Jones, you know, he had a QBR total last year of 62, which ranked 20th in the league, and it was like not bad, not bad, not bad. And he did have some moments, but their defense was pretty good because they were 9th in points allowed. Okay, I'll give you that. That's a top 10 defense. Washington was 2nd in yards allowed, so that's a top 5 defense. So you're right. Those two teams should be ranked 1 and 2, Washington and New York. I can't believe I'm saying this because I'm done with picking my Cowboys. I'm done with having any confidence in my Cowboys because I told you 2 days ago on this show, in my Cowboy-loving life, I've never been more disappointed, more frustrated, more disillusioned by where my team is heading than I am right here, right now. I don't know where it's going. It was 28th in points allowed. It was all-time bad. It was the worst defense I've ever seen in my Cowboy watching life, dating back to 1961. That's how bad they were last year. Will Dan Quinn fix it? I doubt it. Is there a snap-your-fingers quick fix in free agency? I doubt it. Is Zeke ever going to look like 2016 Zeke? No.
No, not going to look like that.
I have a terribly troubled relationship between my quarterback and my owner. And my owner is still, the buck stops there. And when you alienate Jerry Jones, you got a problem. So I think that Dak has succeeded in alienating my owner. And he doesn't care. He's the owner. And his ego is bigger than his desire to win football games. So
the Cowboy Stadium.
Yeah, it's bigger than the stadium. It is. It's way bigger than that stadium. And that's arguably the biggest stadium in the league. So my point is, where's that heading? Nowhere. I guess they'll tag him. I don't know how he's going to come back from a career-threatening broken ankle that required a second surgery. And if I look back at his last 17 starts, he's 6-11. Well, I'm done. I can't pick that. I can't rely. The offensive line got old and battered, and now I'm not sure it's any better than the Eagles' offensive line. So I'll give Dallas a tiny edge over Philly in third to Philly's fourth, last in the least. And I cannot believe we're having this conversation now just 1 year later.
Because, Skip, you touched on it. If you look at the Cowboys, they're running into the same problems that the Eagles have. Their offensive line, you look at Lane Johnson, he's coming off a season-ending surgery. You look at Brooks, he had season-ending surgery. You look at Peters, he had surgery, but he was a mess to begin with.
I got it.
So now you got all these guys are getting older, and they're having surgery. You look at your left tackle, Skip. He missed the remaining of the season with a surgery. You look at Zach Martin. He missed the remaining of the season with an injury. Your center retired last year because of an illness.
And so, timeout, my right tackle, who might be my best one, certainly my youngest one, Lyle Collins, had a career-threatening hip surgery injury that I don't know how it's going to leave him going into next year. I don't really trust it. So what? My worst lineman is my left guard, the former second-round pick, and he's the only one who's healthy. Right.
And so that's what Skip, that's why I think though the Eagles and the Cowboys rank near the bottom, because the other team's offensive line is not nearly as in flux, and their defense is substantially better, or at least from what we've seen last year. Now, that's not to say that Dan Quinn, can they get any worse than what they were last year, Skip? No, I don't believe they can get any worse. But how much better with the same personnel are you going to be? Now, this personnel was under Chris Broussard, and people didn't like the defense that they played then. It's going to be the same defense. Single high, cover one safety. Okay, edge guys, go get home, go eat.
Okay, and will DeMarcus Lawrence ever live up to $20 million a year? I don't have any proof of that. Will Jalen Smith ever figure it out? I don't know. Will Leighton Vander Esch ever stay healthy for a whole year? I doubt it. History is now screaming no.
Yes, right. What D-Law did have some of his best years in this defense as a 43 defensive end, getting the wide nine, go get the quarterback. He's not a stand-up, Skip. He's not a stand-up linebacker like you see JPP, like you see Shaq Barrett. He's a guy that needs to have his hand in the dirt. So we're going to get an opportunity to see. He's going to get an opportunity to rush the passer. He's not going to drop in coverage nearly as much. He's going to be trying to feast on the quarterback. That's what Dan Quinn's defense does. But I think the thing is, Skip, that you fell in love with is that you think the Wolf Hunter and Jalen Smith are going to be Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright. And that ain't going to help us.
Okay, but it looked like they were at the end of 2 years ago. It looked like when they made the playoffs and came out here and played, obviously they beat Seattle first, came out, played the Rams. That year they were coming alive as the best young duo in football.
Right.
Not anymore. So all I got going for me is Randy Gregory came alive down the stretch of the year. He changed the way they were playing defense. So I got that going, but before that, they were by far the worst defense in football.
Devin White and Levante David becoming what you hope Wolf Hunter and Jalen Smith would be.
Correct.
That's what you wanted to see. What you see from those young studs. One of them is Levante David is not a young anymore. He's in his 30s. But Devin White, that's what you was hoping Wolf Hunter. That's what you was hoping Jalen Smith became.
I was. Sorry, over and out.
No mercy.
The NBA All-Star starters were announced, and it was a tight race in the West. Luka Doncic edged out Damian Lillard for the second guard spot, thanks to winning the fan vote after Dame had the slight edge in the players and media vote. Shannon, does Luka deserve to start over Dame here?
Skip, I thought when you look at the East and the West, the backcourt was the toughest position to decide on because you had Bradley Beal, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving. In the West, you had Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, and Dame Lillard. When you look at the West, Skip, all those guys averaging about the same. Luka's 29.99, Steph Curry's like 37-6 or 37-5. Dame is 38-5. So they're very close. I put Dame in over Luka for the simple fact he's got him in the 4th seed, 15 games with no CJ, 16 games with no Nurkic. I put Steph in also because no Clay, and he's doing this without Wiseman. For the most part, Luka has had his now. Porzingis didn't start the season, but he's been in there for, like to say, the last 15 ball games. So, and because they're not they're what, 13th, 14th right now? Skip, I couldn't put him in over those guys, even though he's having an outstanding season. I just thought, considering Steph has his team in the 8th seed, Dame has his team in the 4th spot, Luka has his team, I think, 13th or 14th, and they're all about the same as far as points. Luka has the edge, obviously, in assists and rebounding, but I put Steph and Dame in as my starters. But I do believe Luka should be an all-star, but I don't think he should win it over Dame. But it just goes to show you, the fans, if it's tied, the fans, because this is a fan event, so the fan had the final say, and they put Luka in as a starter.
I know you love Luka a lot more than I do. You call him Baby Bird. I call him Baby Sparrow. Shannon, this is a joke. This is offensive to me, and I'm not even a big Damian Lillard fan, but it's not even close between Damian and Luka. It's a shame that Damian would not start the All-Star game. I told you yesterday I have issues with Damian's clutchness in the postseason, but I have zero issues with his clutchness in the regular season because he is all-time, as we continue to see this year. And as you pointed out yesterday, that last 5 seconds in Chicago, I don't even know how he pulled that off. He hit 2 big threes, the second one a walk-off. So the year he's having is extraordinary, as you point out, without CJ, without Nurkic. They are the surprise, pleasantly, of the league so far. They're 18-10, sitting in the 4 seed. I did not see that coming, nor did I see Dallas plummeting to 13-15, sitting in the 10th hole right now.
And Luka was the overwhelming favorite, Skip, for the MVP.
Runaway favorite for MVP. Here's my problem with this. Luka is the polar opposite of Damian right now. And I'm talking about a Luka who's been, speaking of polar, he's been as cold as the North Pole from the three-point line and from the free throw line. And if you just look at their numbers from the three-point line, it's 33.5% for Luka to 38.4% for Dame. This is from 3. So it's about 5 percentage points higher for Dame.
Right.
But it's more about when they take and make the threes because, again, all-time clutch regular season for Damian. If you look at Luka, last year during the regular season, he was 0 for 10 on last-minute shots with the game tied, or you have a chance to go ahead, on go-ahead shots or get shots to tie, I should say. So he was 0 for 10 in that category a year ago. He's already 0 for 3 in that category this year. We saw him miss the one the other night at the buzzer. It went in and out. It was a good look. He shot it pretty well, but he missed. So he's now a combined 0 for 13 on last-minute shots to tie or win over the last 2 seasons. That's easily the worst in the league, but not that easily, because if you look at it, Andrew Wiggins is 1 of 12 in that situation, and Tim Hardaway Jr. on his own team is 1 of 10. Well, why do you think Dallas keeps losing close games? Because Luka over the last 2 years is 0 for 13 on last-second shots, last-minute shots, and Tim Hardaway is 1 for 10. Well, that's not going to work, obviously.
Exactly, Skip. You remember last year, Skip, they had one of the highest offensive ratings.
They did.
But they always lost the close ball games because of that. What you're talking about. No one could close it out, he or Tim Hardaway. Like I said, Skip, I put Dame in for the simple fact he has him in the 4 seed without 2 starters.
Okay.
I put Steph in because he's doing it without Clay. He did some of that because Draymond missed some time, and now Wiseman is out, and he's still doing what he's doing.
Okay.
Luka, Skip, no, I get it, Skip. It's a fan event, so you can't. You let the fans decide who they really want to see, and the fans decided they'd rather see Luka in the starting lineup than Dame. Okay. But I believe, as Dame deserved to be a starter.
Okay, and when we get to my pet peeve, free throw shooting, because they are free. Luka's actually improved a little bit this year. He's all the way up to 79.5. But listen, Damian is money. He's 93.3% from the free throw line. So he ranks sixth in the league. Luka is 65th in the league in free throw shooting. So look at the 3-point shooting, free throw shooting, and then we get to turnovers. Luka is leading the league in turnovers. Well, that's got to count somewhere, somehow. I know he's got the ball in his hands a lot, but when we're trying to pick nits here about who should start, well, it's not even close. And to your point, I know it belongs to the fans, but they actually tied in, Luka was number 2 in the fan vote and number 3 in the player and media vote. Yet Dame was number 2 players media, which I value more, and number 3 in the fan vote. So they're tied. Tiebreaker is fan votes. And guess what? Luka has about 500,000 more fan votes than Damian got.
But Skip, you remember the league thought they was going to have to intervene because they had Zaza Pachulia in one of the starting lineups until the final vote came out. So Alex Caruso was 10th in the backcourt voting, Skip, at one point in time. So, the fans get carried away with it. I think sometimes they do it. Well, let's see if we can get this guy that doesn't even play. Let's see if we can get him to be a starter. And the league thought they were going to have to intervene because Zaza Pachulia was going to be a starter in the All-Star game, and he wasn't. Skip, you remember they put Magic Johnson in the starting lineup, Skip? The fans voted Magic in back in, I think that was 92, and he ended up winning All-Star Game MVP in Orlando.
Yep. Look, I know Luka is the new sensation in the league. I know he is fun to watch. I know he's a triple-double waiting to happen. I know he can Euro step in the lane like nobody since Manu. I get all that. I know he's fun to watch, but is he any more fun than Damian is?
No.
Shoot logo threes?
No.
Not to me. So I don't really understand why he's a runaway fan favorite over Damian. I don't know. It's a worldwide vote. I don't know if it's he's got the European vote.
He got the European.
Yeah.
He got the European vote.
Right.
But Skip, I still believe Dame played in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
I still believe that hurts him.
It probably does. I would agree. Well, he's then quietly having a great regular season to date.
He's playing unbelievable basketball. And like you said, Skip, we talk about Kyrie. How tall you think Dame is? What, 6 foot, 6'1"?
I think 6 feet.
Dude is spectacular.
Hey, he's been spectacular. Even the other night, he made a last-second shot that was not a logo 3 because he had Lonzo on him, who's like 6'6" at least. I think he's close to 6'7". And Lonzo played him to shoot a logo 3, and he just blew right by him. And then Lonzo caught up, and Dame plays so strong below the rim that he was able to just body Lonzo out of the way and get the and-one.
Right.
He is right in the thick of the MVP race right now, depending on how this plays out. Our man Chris Haynes made that strong point yesterday on the show, and I'm not writing him off. We still got a long ways to go, but he deserves to be a starter in the All-Star game.
And that's what makes Dame so dangerous, Skip, is that he can pull up from the logo.
Yep.
And like it's nothing. I mean, basically, once he crossed half court, he and Steph Curry are the guys that once he crossed half court, you got to guard him.
Yep.
Ain't no more Skip out there, man. He ain't go, I'll pick him up at the top of the key. I'll pick him up at the three-point line.
No.
You better not, because they'll walk right into a 3 from 30 feet, 35 feet, and splash it on you.
And he shoots it effortlessly. It's not like he has to push it.
No. But Skip, think about this. You said Dame is 6th in the NBA in free throw percentage, shooting 93%. It's showing you just how good these guys are getting. I think Seth Curry might be like 97, 98% because he only missed 1 free throw.
Yep.
That's crazy.
But the guys are so good now at shooting the ball, Skip. This is ridiculous.
Yep.
You guys talked about his height. He's listed at 6'2", so, you were spot on.
He's 6'1".
That's a generous 6'2", in your opinion, Skip.
Hey, Dave, how tall are you? Hit me up.
No mercy.
Well, despite no Kevin Durant, the Nets are feeling it. Last night, they took down LeBron and the Lakers 109-98, who were without Anthony Davis and Dennis Schroeder. James Harden and Kyrie Irving led the Nets with a combined 44 points, and Harden dished out 11 assists. LeBron finished with a game-high 32 points in the loss. Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard joins us right now. So, Chris, what is your biggest takeaway from last night's game?
that Brooklyn is a problem, a major problem, and not just in the East, but everywhere. Look, I get that AD and Dennis Schroeder out. Those are two of the Lakers' best defenders. But the numbers show the Lakers are still stellar. In fact, they actually show they're better defensively with those two off the floor. I don't agree with that, but they still are a stellar defensive team without them on the floor. And they couldn't do anything with Brooklyn. I mean, Brooklyn ran roughshod over them without KD, so it kind of balanced out that KD's out, AD and Schroeder out. The fact for Brooklyn is this. They can get an open shot anytime they want to. Every trip down the floor, somebody can get an open shot because their playmakers, Kyrie and James Harden, and obviously Durant when he's there, they draw so much attention. They're so good off the dribble that Joe Harris, Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot, Jeff Green, they're going to get open shots. And one thing about NBA players, I'm sure you guys have been in the gym with them too, they drain open shots. They drain open three-pointers. So Joe Harris is shooting 51% from three. The Nets have been the best three-point shooting team in the league since Harden's been there. They got 5 guys shooting 42% or better. That is a lot to handle. And the Lakers, the number 1 defensive team in the league, could do nothing with them. Then they can go small. So they started with Jeff Green. And obviously that was too much for Marc Gasol to help Brooklyn get out to the big lead because he couldn't get out there with him at the three-point line. And today's NBA, there is no team in the league that's going to punish Brooklyn for playing small. And I include Philadelphia in that. I know Joel Embiid is great, and he can post, and he's in the post more than ever, but he's still on the perimeter more than he is inside. So Brooklyn can get away with that small ball, and Green's going to take the big man outside and hit threes. And so Brooklyn, look, they're definitely winning the East. There's no question about it. It would take an injury to 2 of their stars, not just 1, 2 of their superstars, or an implosion for them not to win the East. I'm not ready to come off the Lakers, my prediction that they'll win it all. I came off them last year at Christmas after their second loss to the Clippers, and I regretted it. So I'm going to stick with them for now. But Brooklyn, look, they're tough. That's all there is to it. And the Lakers found that out last night.
Well, what I learned last night, LeBron is going to have his work cut out for him with AD being out. Now we know for at least a month, and depending on how much longer Schroeder's going to be out. So I guess protocol at least a week, so he's probably going to miss, considering they're playing every other day. They got a game Friday night, they got a game Saturday night, and then they play again on, I think if I'm not mistaken, Monday. So they're playing every other day. So Schroeder could easily miss the next 2 to 3 ball games. So he has his work cut out for him. And I think the thing was for me, Chris, yeah, they struggle defensively because you got 2 guys that can break you down off the dribble, and then when you come to help, they're going to kick to those guys, and right now they're riding a hot hand. They got 65 made threes over the last 3 ball games. But the problem that the Lakers run into is that if you can't defend, you got to be able to score. You see the problem with what the Brooklyn Nets can do, while they might have a trouble stopping you, they going to put points on your head also. Well, when you minus 30 at the three-point line, Chris, you're going to lose a lot of those games. You're going to lose probably 8 to 9 of those 10 games if you're minus 30, considering the team is getting up 39 and they're making 18. They shot 46% from the 3. Joe Harris, 5 or 6. TLC didn't miss but a handful. Shannon was great from the 3. And when they go small, everybody is live from the three-point line. So now, unless Marc Gasol is going to make Jeff Green pay the ultimate price and punish him, get your 14, get your 16. He's of no use to you because he can't get you enough rebounds to offset the potential threes that they're going to be launching away. So, yeah, you're going to miss Anthony Davis. Can Anthony Davis come back and punish, say, are you going to put KD on him or are you going to put Jeff Green? Well, if you put Jeff Green on him, AD's going to have to probably average 35 and 17, and LeBron's going to need to go for 38 and 11 in order to be close. Because, as you mentioned, those 3 guys will probably average somewhere between 75 and 85 points. you're going to have to get your big two is going to need to give you somewhere between 68 and 72, and you're going to hope Kuz, Schroeder, or somebody chip in. But they got to get going from the three-point line, Chris and Skip. KCP is struggling shooting the three. Everybody's struggling shooting the three ball from the Lakers. And remember, they had that problem last year. And then they kind of caught fire come playoff time. So they better hope that happens. But Brooklyn looked good. Let's not talk about what the Lakers didn't do. Brooklyn looked really good. And it wasn't so much Kyrie and James Harden. It was the role players that made the movie the success. Because Joe Harris, Shannon, TLC was spectacular shooting the three ball.
So I agree with my friend Chris Broussard in one aspect, which Shannon just co-signed. That is, the Nets are serious business. I said it from day one. They share the ball just fine. They don't need two basketballs. They're just fine with one basketball to go around. Obviously, we haven't seen KD a whole lot, only 6 games with Kyrie and James. But when I have seen them, it works. KD is not a ball demander. He's not a black hole that the ball's going to get lost in every night. No, he's as efficient a scorer as we've ever seen in the league at the highest level. So not only do I think they can do it offensively, but I have fought with Shannon to say, I think when they decide to, they can play reasonably good defense. They can play playoff caliber, win the championship defense at a reasonable enough level to win the championship, to win the East and the finals, because they play up to the level of competition. Do you realize this team is now 10-1 this season against teams above 500? Yeah, it'll dog it on defense against teams below 500, teams they don't take seriously enough. But when it's time, when it's the Lakers at Staples, they take it up several levels. And I was stunned that the Brooklyn Nets, and I know they're down KD versus AD and there's no Schroeder. I get that. But in general, they held LeBron and company to 98 points at Staples. They held them below 100. That's extraordinary to me. And by the way, the flip side of that record against 500 teams, the Lakers are now 4-7 against teams above 500. So now back to my biggest takeaway was, as Chris points out, the Nets came out almost as small as the Rockets played last year with their small ball lineup. And I thought out of the box, LeBron, you are on. We've talked about this is his golden opportunity, not just to solidify his MVP case. We're talking about close the case over the next 9, 10, 11 games, however long AD is going to be out. And I thought Joe Harris is guarding LeBron from the tip-off for the first 10 minutes of this game. Joe Harris, not to be confused with a first-team all-defensive player, tried to check LeBron. And he actually did okay because LeBron was not nearly aggressive enough. He has been in his career the greatest driver of the basketball I have ever seen. And I thought last night would be a victory parade to the basket for LeBron James in the first quarter, especially the first 10 minutes of that game. He would set the tone. He'd score 15 in the first quarter. He'd shoot 7 or 8 free throws, and that did not happen. Again, Shannon's made the point. He wants to facilitate. He wants to get everybody involved. Last night was his night because he was he was bigger than any of the Nets starters last night, including Jeff Green on his 10th NBA team at 6'8", say 235. LeBron 6'9", at least 260. Well, he could have terrorized them in the paint going to the basket, and he didn't do that nearly enough last night, not to mention another 1 of 6 from 3, not to mention another 3 of 6 from the free throw line. So he did not exactly bolster his MVP case to me last night.
Chris, let me put this in here. When you look at the Nets, when you look at the Brooklyn Nets, Skip, the Brooklyn Nets are like the Kansas City Chiefs. Their offense is their defense. They put so much pressure on you that if you don't stay close to them, then you won't find out how porous their defense is. And that's what happened with the Lakers. When you fall behind by 25, it seems like everything they put up started going into the basket. You see what happened with Kansas City? When they fell behind, you see how easily Tampa made it look. The Kansas City's defense has been like this all year, but very few teams could get to 30. Very few teams could get to 35, 38 to put pressure on them. Someone got to a magic number. You see when the teams get to 130, along with Brooklyn, you see what happens? You see when they get to the 120s, what happens? Well, if you only score, like Miami, only score 85, you're not beating that team scoring 85 points. You're not beating that team scoring 98 points. You better get to the high teens or 20s in order to give yourself a chance to beat this team.
Skip, I want to address a few things you said, Skip. With LeBron, I think he's playing the long game. I was frustrated with him last year in their regular season matchups with the Clippers because I was like, especially the early ones, I was like, be more aggressive. What are you doing? What's LeBron doing? And he was playing the long game, you know, seeing what they were about, seeing what his teammates could do against that team. I think that was the approach he took last night. To your point about the defense, they don't have to be the bad boy Pistons. They don't have to be the Jordan Bulls defensively. They just have to be adequate. They could probably get away with being the worst championship defensive team we've seen. And in their 5-game win streak, they've been 18th in the league defensively, which is good enough for them because their offense is so good. Remember, Durant hasn't been out there. Durant won't hurt the defense.
No.
He's going to obviously help the offense tremendously. And because Harden and Kyrie can do it so much offensively, that'll give him more energy theoretically for the defensive end. So they just have to be adequate, be able to get stops here or there when necessary. And I think they can do it. I like hearing Kyrie and Harden talk about defense after every game and how that's what they're focusing on. And Skip, finally, you said it, 10-3 against the elite teams. They've beaten every elite team in the league. The Lakers, the Clippers, Utah, Denver, if you throw Indiana in there, Boston, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, they've beaten them all. And that's with their stars in and out of the lineup. It's scary. If they can get on the court consistently together, it's going to be scary.
Okay, so we talked about this the last couple of days, but Chris, do you still have LeBron as an edge in the MVP race? Do you still have him slightly ahead?
Slightly. Look, Embiid is missing, games. So I think he's still up there. But Dame now. I think Dame is those are my top 3. Kawhi's missing a lot of games too. Dame is carrying him. I don't know if he can do it, the rest of this year. But those are the 3 that I have. And, I agree. I don't think LeBron helped his case last night. But he didn't hurt it to the point where I don't still think he's slightly ahead.
Okay. I know he made a lot of sort of fancy-dancy fadeaways and fallaways, the oohs and ahs. He had one big thunder dunk. But I just want to remind everybody, in 9 games in February, he's shooting 27% from 3. I want to remind everyone that overall, he ranks out of the top 100 in three-point shooting and free throw shooting, and that he's second barely in turnovers to Luka. So right now, I do not have him as the MVP frontrunner.
And with all that being said, Chris, and with all that being said, guess what? His team still has the second best record. He leads his team in scoring. He leads his team in assists, and he's second on his team in rebounding.
Not the MVP, though.
So Shannon obviously has him.
Well, he'd have him any year, any time.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Any month.
No mercy.
When I think about Black History Month, I think about people who are doing it now, leading the way. I think about the modern athlete, because I am an athlete. I think about LeBron James, Colin Kaepernick, Maya Moore, Kenny Stills, Anquan Bolden. I think about the Malcolm Jenkins of the world that's walking the halls of Congress to make things better for all people. I think that the modern athlete is redefining what it means to be athlete. The modern athlete is saying, look, we don't have to sit in a box anymore and just play ball. We don't have to shut up and dribble. The modern athlete is leading the second wave of the civil rights movement. I love Black History Month because it gives us the opportunity to highlight people who are doing it now and also pay homage to the people who paved the way before us.
The Eagles have traded Carson Carson Wentz, but that doesn't mean the starting job is automatically going to Jalen Hurts. Philadelphia reportedly plans to bring in competition for Hurts. The Eagles have the 6th overall pick, and other reports have them drafting a quarterback with early selection. Shannon, what does this tell you here?
It tells me the Eagles haven't learned their lesson. Adam Schefter is reporting that Carson Wentz, from the moment they drafted Jalen Hurts, he felt jilted. And even though the team tried to reassure him, he's like, no, you can't reassure me because you took a quarterback. If you believed in me, you wouldn't have taken a quarterback. And I'm a firm believer. If you bring a quarterback in for competition, you do not believe in Jalen Hurts. As Jenny mentioned in the read, Skip, this roster has gotten old. They're over the cap. So you don't need to bring in another quarterback. If you have a quarterback, you need to build around him. You need to build people that can protect him. To draft a quarterback with the 6th pick, you're telling me you wasted your 2nd-round pick last year in drafting Jalen Hurts. If you bring a quarterback in, be it free agent or however you get him, to compete with Jalen Hurts, you're telling Jalen Hurts, and you're confirming what I know is that you don't believe in him. Skip, Adam also reported that Wentz and Dougie P didn't speak for like 2 to 3 months.
Yep.
Skip, how the hell the offensive coordinator, the guy that's calling the plays, don't speak to the quarterback? How you stay married, Skip, how you stay married if you don't speak to your significant other for months at a time? That thing gonna end, and it's gonna end bitterly, just like it did. And I said, Skip, I didn't second, like you like to say, I didn't second guess. I first guessed this. I say, Skip, somebody's got to go. And more than likely, both of them going to end up leaving because Wentz said, in order for Dougie P to make this move, Howie Roseman and the owner, Howie Roseman, the general manager, Jeffrey Lurie, the owner, had to co-sign it. You don't make a move like this as a head coach unless you're Bill Belichick because you do all the grocery, Skip, all the grocery shopping. So you can make that move without having to consort with someone.
Okay.
So he had it in for everybody. He's like, I'm done. I want out. Nothing you can say, nothing you can do can convince me that you stay here. Skip, they created a problem that they didn't have to create. They're creating another problem. You're building another monster that's going to turn around and gobble you up again, just like the one you created last year when you selected Jalen Hurts in the 2nd round. If you bring another quarterback in, you're dooming Jalen Hurts because you're saying you don't believe in. Skip, San Diego is not bringing another quarterback in to compete with Justin Herbert. They're not bringing a quarterback in Cincinnati. They're not bringing a quarterback in if they believe they have their guy. If you bring another quarterback in, you're telling me, Skip, we don't have our guy.
Okay. I hear every word you just said. I basically agree with what you just said, but here's my view of Jalen Hurts, much of which you already know. I liked him at Alabama. I loved him under Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma. The second they picked him in the 2nd round, I hit social media with, he will be better than Carson Wentz, in part because I'm not a Wentz fan. He's W-I-N-C-E as in Wentz for me, as opposed to a Winnsylvania or Wentz in a lifetime, or walk it to him Wentz, or bounce it to him Wentz, or give it to him Wentz. But I just said that Jalen Hurts, on leadership intangibles and key play intangibles, playmaking intangibles at key moments, will be able to perform at a higher level than Carson Wentz ever did for the Eagles. I did not say he's going to make multiple Pro Bowls because that's not how he's built. I did not say anything but that he will perform better than Wentz, and I believe you could win a Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts as the leader of your locker room and the playmaker of your offense in clutch time, crunch time.
Hold on, Skip. Hold on. Time out. So you believe in today's game, a team can get to and win the Super Bowl without their quarterback being a Pro Bowl player?
I do, because, again, he's not prototypical. I don't think he'll ever put up any kind of Justin Herbert-style numbers, but what he can do is galvanize a locker room and a team around him. He's going to have to do it with his legs as well as his arm. If you will, he is Tebow-esque. And I know they're not exactly the same. They're in a little different sort of psychological, emotional package. Jalen is a better passer than Tebow, but he's not a great passer. And what did we see in the games that he got thrown into the fire in? I thought he played very well, especially against New Orleans in that first game. He played well enough to win the game at Dallas, and then, again, his defense let him down. But the point was that the numbers were not staggering. What was he, 52% of his passes? That's frightening,
yeah.
you know? Like
that's terrible.
The QBR was no good.
Right.
But the eye test told you he can play. So, again, when you have a Tebow-esque quarterback, you have to have the highest faith in him, and you have to withstand the slings and arrows of the bad stats. You have to just say, yeah, but we can win with him. But where I can't condemn them is they do have the 6th overall pick. Let's just do it, for instance. Trey Lance, North Dakota State. I didn't watch 1 second of him. I've seen the highlights. I've heard Mel Kiper say on ESPN, most intriguing prospect that I've dealt with in the last, I think Mel said, 40 years, because he could be off the charts great. He could be Mahomes great. Well, is he everybody's cup of tea? Is everybody going to buy into that? Will he be gone before 6? So just hypothetically, if somehow he slides to 6 and the Eagles have fallen in love with him, Howie Roseman, and they take him, I can't condemn him, because I'm sure just in a vacuum at a combine, maybe even on tape at North Dakota State, you'd say, well, Trey Lance is just better. He has a much higher upside than Jalen Hurts. All I know is I believe in Jalen Hurts, and you're going to have the guts to believe in him, even in the face of the prospect of, yeah, but it's Trey Lance. Well, let's just see how that works out, because in the end, I'm more of a Jalen Hurts fan than you ever were, and I still think if you can ride through some rough stat patches, that he will win big for you.
Well, Skip, that used to be the case, but not anymore, not in the salary cap era. You see now, teams are getting off quarterbacks, even if they have to eat $25, $30, $40 million in dead money. They're not sitting around. You, Skip, you know, back when you were covering the league, they would develop a quarterback. You could sit the quarterback down because he wasn't making that money. The fifth-year option was never in play, and the guy really didn't have any right. So you could just sit him for 3, 4, 5 years and develop him. Not anymore. You get these guys, Skip, you got to get them in there and play. You got to see what you got. And so my thing is that North Dakota State, that's where you got Wentz from. You sure you want to go down that path again?
I don't know.
I
don't know.
This is not Stanford. This is not Stanford where you get John Elway and Andrew Luck.
Nope, I got it. But from what people are saying of Trey Lance, he's way beyond Wentz in upside to me.
Okay.
So, but I don't know. If he's that good, then I'm assuming somebody's going to snatch him before 6.
Or somebody's going to trade you right. Somebody's going to move. Skip, for me, I ain't trying to find intriguing. Now, if I'm going to get intriguing, I'm going to let that be a skill player. I'm going to let that be a lineman. I don't want intriguing at quarterback because I can't be intrigued. I need to be as close to certain as I possibly can be. Now, there is no absolutes. There is no absolute certain. But, Skip, intriguing for that position?
No, I'm with you. Final thought. ESPN has also reported that they were interested in Marcus Mariota if, in fact, the Raiders make him available as a kind of a 1A quarterback or somebody to compete in camp preseason with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts will beat out Marcus Mariota. Jalen Hurts is better. He's better. His intangibles, his playmaking, his trustability under fire is better than Marcus Mariota, who I have never loved. I love what's he run the 40 in? 4.4, maybe even faster than that. But hey, Jalen Hurts is a stud playmaker and leader, and I would not bet against him against Marcus Mariota.
Skip, you need to build out this roster with talent. You need to replace some of these older guys.
Oh, definitely.
You missed on the wide receiver. You should have took Justin Jefferson and you took Jalen Reagor.
Yep.
You've got to build this roster up, Skip. They're depleted. This is not the same team that just 3 years ago won the Super Bowl. No. It's not even close.
Not even close. Agreed.
Feels like a long time ago, that Super Bowl win. And it seems like there are plenty more issues than just at the quarterback position.
No mercy.
Bleacher Report listed the most overrated free agents this offseason. Cam Newton was at the top of the list, but coming in second was Dak Prescott. The ranking is concerned about Dak returning from his ankle injury, as well as some of those early 2020 stats being just a bit inflated. Shannon, I'm curious, your thoughts. Do you agree?
No, but I'm beginning to wonder, did Stephen or Jerry Jones actually write this article for Bleacher Report, Skip? And I get Cam. Skip, Cam Newton, that MVP Cam, Skip, that's 6 years removed. Cam is not going back to that form. Too many injuries, too many hits have transpired for Cam to be that. I do believe Cam can still be a good quarterback, but that MVP version, no. T.Y. Hilton, his numbers have dipped. Hunter Henry, but Dak is the issue, Skip. I tell you what you do. If you think Dak's overrated, tell the Dallas Cowboys not to put the tag on him at the start of free agency, and then let the league rate him. You don't got to worry about. Don't look at anybody else. Skip, you never let somebody else set your agenda. You never let somebody else, determine what you will or won't do. Take the tag off him and let the league rate him. If he's overrated, he'll be able to come back to the Cowboys, and the Cowboys will get him for the price that they want him. If he's not, that tells you everything you need to know. I don't think Dak's overrated. Dak is what, 27, 28? A guy that's coming off an injury, but we've seen guys come off these injuries before, return to form. He had a second surgery on that. Maybe that was to clean up the plate that he had placed in there. I'm not concerned about Dak's injury. I'm not concerned about Dak. I don't believe Dak is overrated. But the fact of the matter is that your Cowboys probably do, for the simple fact they're going to tag him again when they could have had this done 3 years ago think about it, Skip. If you gave Dak 3 years ago $37 million, you would have saved yourself probably $50 to $100 million over the life of the contract, but you didn't do it.
Okay, but that's not the point here. I am now hearing from my man Shannon Sharpe resounding hypocrisy.
What?
I can hear it all the way through these cameras. It's slapping me right in the face. Hypocrisy. I'm calling you out. You have done nothing but rip Dak Prescott on this show for years, for 4 years. And now you're saying he's not overrated. Well, they're putting it in the context of he wants $40 million to start, rising to $45 million in his 4th year of this contract that he is demanding.
Right.
In that context, he's way overrated because he's not Patrick Mahomes and he's not even Deshaun Watson.
Skip,
and if he wants more money than Deshaun and rising up to challenge Patrick, it's not right. I'm sorry, you're being hypocritical to say that he's perfectly rated.
Let me ask you a question, Skip. 5 years from today, so in February of 2026, what do you think the starting salary for an NFL quarterback will be?
Okay, but we're doing top 5, right? Taylor Heineke could, like I just told you, Taylor Heineke is probably going to start for Washington. He's going to make $2.5 million. There it is. There's the starting salary. How about that?
Skip, consider considering the guy was taking an online class to get his college engineering degree.
Okay, but it's feast or famine here. Like there's a wide range of quarterbacks making different money. What do you think the Eagles think that of the money they just gave Carson Wentz? They just had to eat an all-time record dead cap money, $33.8 million. The Rams had to eat $20-ish million when they gave Jared Goff away and landed Matthew Stafford.
Okay, Skip. Let me ask you a question. Where do you rate Dak? What do you say he is? So from 1 to 15, where would you rate Dak?
I'll say 10th. But again, if we're talking about top 2 money, top 1 money, he's overrated because nobody has defended Dak Prescott harder than I have sitting in this seat, especially to you, because you blasted him again. Again, going back to 2019, in the last 13 games, you gave him 7 Fs. And now you're saying he's not overrated at 40-plus million?
But, Skip, don't you have to factor in inflation? So in other words, you're saying the guy should get 30, he should get 36 million, 36 million, 36 million, 36 million. Everybody factors in inflation. Skip, you know how this thing works.
Okay, but if you give him 40s rising to 45 million,
yes,
you are a candidate for all-time disaster because, as you well know, it's one thing to overpay Ezekiel Elliott at 15 million a year as a running back. It's quite another to commit 40 to 45 million a year for 4 years to a Dak Prescott who might not be able to live up to it. In fact, I doubt he could because I don't think he's ever been that great. And I keep telling you, think about what we just saw over his last 17 starts as a Cowboy. He's 6-11. And over the last 13 games of 2019, I'll be the first to tell you, he wasn't very good. He had one good game in 2019, and it was against Minnesota, Jenny's Vikings, at Jerry World. He played really well, and they lost because they gave the ball to Zeke at the end of the game. And then he had one really good game this year to start off at SoFi Stadium, the grand opening against the Rams. Dak played really well in that game, and they lost. And then they play Atlanta, and they fall behind 29-10 at halftime, and it takes a near miracle watermelon kick recovery at the end of the game for them to pull, again, victory from the jaws of defeat against Atlanta. Then they go to Seattle, and they fall behind 30-15. What am I supposed to do with that? They come home and play Cleveland and fall behind 41-14 after 3 quarters. And what does Shannon Sharpe, the Hall of Famer, always tell me? Did Dak have the ball in that game? Yeah, he did. Yeah. And he didn't do much with it. And then against the Giants, when he fatefully, ultimately got hurt.
Right.
They fell behind 17-3 while he was playing quarterback in that game. And it took Andy Dalton to pull that one out as the closer. So I can't. 6-11. I don't have a body of work. I got him 3 playoff games, and he's 1-2.
I believe, but here's the thing, though, Skip. I believe in the year 2026, the starting salary of the top 5 quarterbacks will be somewhere between $50 and $55 million per year. So Dak will be on a bargain. You get Dak Prescott at $45 million 5 years from now, you like, we stole Dak. We stole him. Think about it, Skip. Just 5 years ago, Aaron Rodgers, with that $33 million, you like, oh, my good. In just 5 years, Pat Mahomes went from 33 to 45. That's $12 million. So $12 million from 45, what he's getting right now, in just 5 years will be almost $60 million bucks. So if you got a quarterback, somebody is going to get somewhere between 50, 55 million, maybe even 60. You got Dak Prescott at 45. You feel like you stole him. Okay, just like Tampa stole Tom Brady at 25.
Yep. But that was because he chose to take only 25.
Yeah, right.
Okay, Dak is dug in, and I want up into the 40s. So are you here to guarantee me, to assure me with all your heart and soul that if Dak Prescott is making $45 million 4 years from today, he'll be worth every penny of it?
He'll be worth. Skip, look, you know there's no guarantees in sports. You know that. But I feel very comfortable in saying that he will fulfill the obligation of being worth $40 million.
If you swing and miss on that deal, you are done for the next 4, 5, 6 years.
Guess what happens?
It will be a salary cap wrecker that you cannot recover from.
Well, you can have Andy Dalton for probably $10 million, but you're not going nowhere.
Okay.
But you know that at the beginning of the season. At least Dak gives you hope. Dak provides optimism. You already know with Andy Dalton, you're not going anywhere.
Well, I think he's going somewhere else because I think he's going to get more than $10 million on the open market.
But that's what I'm saying, though, Skip. But with Dak does provide optimism. And I believe, Skip, the NFL is trying to okay, we're going to get this new TV money. And Dak is factoring in that new TV money is going. And they say next year's cap, Skip, might be somewhere between $220 and $230 minus the $10 million they're going to deduct from 2022 and 2023. So that's going to be a $40 million increase. I need to get some of that.
Yeah. And,
me and old Dak.
Well, and Dak is also, he's a class act. I feel like we got to bring it up. It's an emergency situation in Dallas. He's donating meals to the homeless. He's such a good guy. Okay. He does all the right things in the community. It is
Jenny,
important to
I got to say this. All Shannon Sharpe wants right here, right now, is for Dak to wreck my salary cap. That's all he cares about.
He's a good person.
He's a good person.
Jenny, and think
He's
about
a
what
great
Dak could have
person.
done. Dak could have got on a plane and flew to Mexico with his homeboy.
Shannon.
He could have done that, but he didn't do that. Dak
He
stayed.
did not do that.
He stayed with it. Yeah, he stayed with the people of Texas and provided meals and water.
How did I know you were going to bring that up? So did Matthew
My bad.
McConaughey.
No mercy.
LeBron James became just the third player in NBA history to score 35,000 points. Just saying that is crazy. LeBron hit the impressive mark right before halftime with a free throw. He's closing in on Karl Malone and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who are the only career scoring leaders still ahead of him. Shannon, how impressive is this by LeBron?
It's very impressive. And when you look at it, Skip, the level that he's playing at, Skip, it's not a situation where, he's coming in, getting 12 points here and there. He's the best player on a team in year 18. He's still currently the best player. No player has had this kind of success playing this late in their career like he's playing at. He's playing at a level that we've never seen before and we may never see again. To have this many points, to have this many assists, and to have the owners. Skip, look, there's only two guys that have more points than LeBron James. And the guys, if you look at it, Will only is the one that's in the 30,000 that has more, obviously has more, they're big guys. Kareem has more rebounds, Karl Malone, and Will. But when you look at Kobe, you look at Dirk, you look at Jordan, Skip, they can't touch it with the number of rebounds and assists that he has. And so for him to play at this level, Skip, you got to play. I mean, look, I understand. Anytime you put up numbers, it's like Brady. You can say what you want about Brady. Yeah, Brady played 21 years, but he's still playing at a high level. So it's not like, well, damn, Brady threw for 15 touchdowns and he played another year and he threw for 50. No, he's still throwing for 30 and 40 touchdowns, even in year 21. LeBron James is still averaging 26 points a game in year 18. So, Skip, this is very impressive. He's, only Jerry West and now LeBron, let's see, Durant averaged more points per game, Jerry West and Michael Jordan. Averaging 27 for a career, and Will averaged 30. Jordan is like 30.01. Skip, this is very impressive. For this man to play at the level that he's playing at, and he doesn't show any signs of slowing down. That's what's most impressive.
Okay, what I'm about to say, I'm dead serious about. Straight from the heart. The reason this is so impressive to me, 35,000 plus points, is because LeBron James is such a relatively lousy shooter from the three-point line and the free throw line. You did that, and you really can't shoot by NBA high by great player standards.
Right.
Really. And lately, he's got this new disturbing propensity. He's shooting a lot of air balls. Good to very good to great shooters. They just don't shoot air balls. And if we could just briefly remind everybody of just a few recent examples of air balls. This is back on February 8th against Denver. Look at this. He airballs a free throw by a foot. How can you do that if you scored 35,000 points? Here's the first shot of the game at Minnesota on Monday night. Misses everything, nothing but air.
Every great player shot an air ball.
I could shoot a logo. Well, nothing but net, except it didn't go through the basket first. And then last night, late in the game, pull up on Jeff Green. It missed by like a foot left. And you've scored 35,000 points. That's extraordinary to me that you overcame, in spite of yourself, the ability to do this, because obviously he's the greatest driver of the basketball ever. And later in his career, a la Michael Jordan, he has developed a pretty to very good sort of step-back jumper or fadeaway, fall-away jump shot, and I give him credit for that. But in the end, the most credit is just that body of his. He's Iron Man, and if you can last as long and stay as fit as he is, you're going to score a lot of points. And look at minutes. By early next year, he'll be third overall all-time in minutes played. Well, guess who's number 2 on that list? Karl Malone is second in minutes played. Guess who's number 1 on the minutes played list? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who is first in points. Karl is second. LeBron is third. Here he comes. So if he can just outlast them, play more minutes than they play, he's going to break both of their records.
Well, I believe, Skip, I believe LeBron will end up, I think they're 22 and 9, so that's 31 games. They have 41 games left to play in 72 games.
Yeah.
I believe he'll be at 36,000 by the end of the year. So so he'll be over what it's going to take him. He's going to have to play 20 seasons. So I believe he catches Kareem in year 20. So he'll be over 37,000 at the end, almost 37,500 at the end of next year.
I got it. But just to keep this in big picture perspective, when he's chasing the GOAT, Michael Jeffrey Jordan, he has played LeBron 223 more games than Jordan played and 8,579 more minutes than Michael played because Michael just didn't last as long, obviously, as LeBron has lasted.
Right. And guess what, Skip? The thing is, you mentioned that God gave him that body.
Yep.
God gave a lot of guys bodies, but they didn't take care of those bodies like LeBron did.
Totally vouch for that. I'm with you.
And so
I endorse. I co-sign.
It has to be. But, Skip, I think what's amazing is all the things that you mentioned, what makes LeBron so unique is because he isn't a great shooter.
Nope.
He isn't a great free throw shooter. He found ways to become great,
I agree.
even though he had limitations in other areas.
Well said. Agreed.
No mercy.
Well, during last night's Lakers-Nets game, a men's grooming commercial featuring Alex Caruso sent both Twitter and Skip into shock. Caruso has become a fan favorite here in L.A. He's drawn comparisons to Paul George for his defensive instincts and has even earned the nickname Caruso. Shannon, how surprised were you to see Alex Caruso in a TV commercial?
I'm not surprised at all. Although he's not Skip, he might not be a national big time, but in L.A., we live in L.A. We know what he means in L.A. They call him the Caruso. And I think, Skip, it's for a worthy cause. I think it's because it's for testicular cancer. So I am not surprised. And he probably was one of the only ones that they were, because if there's just manscaping, okay. But when you compare the two, people they might think I have that. And so some people might have shied away from it. But I'm not surprised, Skip. I'm really not.
I am shocked. I'm sorry. I fell off my chair. I yelled to Ernestine, who was watching the game in the next room, Alex Caruso has a national TV commercial. How did this happen?
And who gonna shave their head?
Undrafted out of Texas A&M. He should thank his lucky stars. He's playing with LeBron on the Los Angeles Lake Show, right?
Skip,
he's the
what
most,
other guy?
Go ahead.
What other guy on the Lakers would have shaved all their hair off? Name the other guy.
Well, LeBron.
Now, there you go. See, I knew you.
Think about Alex Caruso. He's like the most relatable player in the league, at least to white fans, because he's like the guy at the Y who's getting to play for the Lakers, right?
Skip, the only guy, too, is only him and Marc Gasol. So you gotta limit it.
Show. I cannot believe it. I love the visual of Skip calling in Ernestine to see this. That is it for Undisputed. Have a great weekend, everyone. Undisputed is back Monday. The Herd starts now. Have a good one.